always remember the 3 S's: safety, security, and censorship.
It was a long old wait for Alan Wake 2 to finally launch on Xbox late last year, and now Remedy is wrapping up the game's DLC plan with the Lakehouse expansion. Yep, it's finally time to wave goodbye to the second installment of Alan Wake, and the team has spent its final few moments here building out the Remedy connected universe to good effect. Alan Wake 2 The Lakehouse begins in those oh-so-familiar Pacific Northwestern woodlands that we've all come to know and love from our time with the series. The DLC's introduction feels like a passing of the torch, if you will, a little goodbye to the weird and wonderful world of Alan Wake.
No one wants to check the individual carrying a firearm into a restricted government facility?
The Lakehouse is well and truly back in controlled territory, so much of this expansion feels more like a prequel to Control 2 rather than another slice of Alan Wake goodness. Whilst we have mixed feelings on this being our last taste of Alan Wake 2 action, the Lakehouse is another bold and confident step to build out the Remedyverse, so we can't knock it too much. You play as FBC agent Kirin Estevez as you explore a mysterious government facility that lies mostly beneath the surface near Cauldron Lake. It all starts out as a slow, considered affair, where most of your time will be spent exploring the research base to uncover clues and find out what the bloody heck is going on down there.
There was a crack in the lake house. The Marmonts had let the lake in, but the water could not flow.
If you like a good document read and passcode-based puzzle to solve, you'll be well served by the first hour or so of the Lakehouse. This one is a slow build and isn't afraid to gradually ease you back in. Fear not though, things get suitably survival horror the further you delve into the Lakehouse.
A higher access card. Sorry, but I need this.
Once you've managed to acquire security access on the ground floor, you'll be plunged into varying levels of terror as you move further into the research base. When combat kicks in, this DLC mostly sticks to the standard Alan Wake 2 rule set. Shine your light, blast away the demons, and take a deep breath. Aside from the odd, awkward encounter due to the Lakehouse's more confined play spaces, this DLC still feels good to play, and the combat here packs a real punch when things get feisty. There's a new weapon and enemy type packed in as well, and whilst we won't spoil those elements too much, these lads are damn satisfying to put down.
Finally! Something works on these bastards.
The Lakehouse is generous with its firepower and ammunition, which is good because you come up against plenty of enemies the further into the DLC you go. We did notice that we were low on health quite a bit though. Healing items seemed very scarce, so it's worth being cautious here as you explore the building and stock up on as much stuff as you can. Story-wise, we felt like we understood maybe roughly 30% of what was going on here, which is just a standard Remedy affair then. But seriously, the Lakehouse isn't afraid to get into the weeds when it comes to tying together elements of Remedy's connected universe. And whilst we picked up on plenty of links to Alan Wake and Control, this one does feel purpose-built for the theorists of the world. Remedy superfans will love all of this. Occasional manuscript collectors may be somewhat confused by what's going on.
Hey, hello. Who are you?
Sorry, got a flow going. Can we do this later?
We did enjoy one particular interaction with Ed Booker, one of the side characters from the base game. We won't spoil the whole conversation here, but the way Estevez and Booker played off each other as they both had wildly different thoughts on what was going on was neat to witness. The performances were great, as they were throughout this DLC, and the whole convo felt genuine. Large parts of this could be entirely missed, so be on the lookout for the nutty writers stuck in the big old concrete block within the Lakehouse facility. The expansion concludes with a chunky story dump and a typical Remedy boss fight. That's to say we didn't hugely enjoy the game's final combat section. There's nothing wrong with it, and we managed to get through it on normal difficulty, after a few deaths admittedly, but it just felt very generic compared to the rest of the Lakehouse. If there's one major complaint we have with recent Remedy games, it's that they don't seem to have a grasp on how to end things combat-wise, and this Alan Wake 2 expansion continues that trend. The Lakehouse isn't the team's worst offender, We just wish the studio would put as much creativity into its final fights as it does the rest of its games, or just skip the idea entirely. Alan Wake 2: The Lakehouse is another brilliant slice of Remedy goodness. This expansion certainly veers more into Control territory, so if that's your Remedy jam, then you'll likely have a great time with this one. For us, we'd have liked the game's final DLC to feel a bit more like Alan Wake in its concept and execution, so the Lakehouse doesn't feel quite as accomplished as the base game or its previous Night Springs expansion. At just $20 or £15 for both DLC packs though, you really can't go wrong in opening up your wallet for some fresh Alan Wake action. Well, that about does it for Ben Carey's review, and with a great score of 8 out of 10, The Lakehouse is a perfect 3 to 4 hour return to the Remedyverse this October. But before we wrap up, I did want to add a couple of my own thoughts to the mix. Whilst I wholly agree with what Ben has discussed, I do think this being Alan Wake's final DLC, and Remedy's emphasis on the Lakehouse being a scarier ordeal than the base game, I found the choice of protagonist a bit of a swing and miss. Despite enjoying Janina Gavin Carr's portrayal of the sturdy Control agent, her cool and calm demeanor dulled the terror. Of course, our hero should be capable of progressing the plot without dampening their trousers, although Alan himself is a bit of a wet blanket. But Kiran Estevez, despite expressing moments of horror, was just too collected. Just another day in the office throughout the whole ordeal. There's an argument that without the FBC and Agent Estevez, this DLC wouldn't have come to be. But the Lakehouse being the last slice of Alan Wake we'll tuck into for a while, like Ben said, it just didn't strike the right chord for its final song. I did like, however, that this whole thing felt like training the FBC's version of ChatGPT, and it got way out of hand though. But that's something for you to explore by yourself. Take what I say with a pinch of salt though, it was a minor complaint and I genuinely loved being back in Bright Falls. Any excuse to install Alan Wake 2 is a good one. As always, thanks for watching, and all that's left to say is bye-bye for now. Cheerio!